Well, this is an exciting day. Not only have I just picked up Sonia Lin from Singapore, who's come here to model for us, I've just arrived at Garden City Shopping Centre and I'm about to head into Ted's camera store and pick up something very cool. Let's go. About time I took this baby back to the studio and gave it a real test out. Let's go. Okay, I'm back in the studio. It's now Sunday afternoon. I picked the camera up on Thursday afternoon, so I've had a couple of days with it. Thursday night, really, I just sat on the couch while watching TV and just went through all the menus and sort of familiarised myself with the new features. Friday, I didn't get a lot of time to shoot with it, but yesterday and this morning I've been doing some tests. And I've created a number of short little videos on the different features with some comparisons to the X-T2 in some of them, but really just exploring the features that are going to benefit me and the way that I shoot and the way that I'm going to use this camera. So essentially that's going to be the performance of the in-body image stabilization. One of the main ones is going to be autofocus with video, so continuous autofocus, tracking face, all that sort of stuff. So I've done a few tests with that. And the other thing that I was really keen to test out was the slow motion feature. So I've decided to make a playlist of all these little short test videos. So it's a good reference point for not only myself, but obviously you guys as well. So I hope you check them out and hopefully you'll get something out of it. First impressions of this camera is it's fantastic. I love it. One of the main reasons I switched from Nikon originally at the end of 2015 was really just because I was getting over the size and weight of the Nikon D4, the 24-70 2.8 and the 70-200 2.8. So I went to the XT1, which is obviously scary small compared to the D4. Eventually then went to the X-T2, which is slightly bigger, but still a very, very small camera. The XH1 is obviously bigger than the X-T2, but still quite a bit smaller than the Nikon D4 that I was using. Another thing I did was upgrade to the 16-55 f2.8 because I was just using the 18-55 2.8 to 4, which is a great little lens, but having the constant 2.8 aperture is going to be a real benefit to me, and also just getting a slightly better image quality out of it as well. So I'm doing a few tests with this lens. In particular, I'm keen to explore how it compares at 55mm to the 56mm 1.2. The 56 1.2 has been my go-to lens, and I've shot nearly 140,000 images on that one lens. So no wonder it needed an aperture unit replacement last year. So a few weeks ago, before the actual official announcement of the XH1, I made a little video listing the 10 things that I really wanted to see in this camera. See, some of those features were well rumoured by Fuji rumors before that. So let's have a look at the List of 10 things that I was hoping to see in the XH1. First of all, IBIS, obviously, that is was always going to be there, and it's a great feature. I'm really glad to have that in this camera, not only for video, of course, but also for shooting stills and in low light environments, so I can handhold just a little bit slower. That's a real benefit to me. Number 2 was autofocus, and yes, definitely I can see the autofocus improvement already, not only for video, for continuous focus, but just in lower light environments. It's really snappy and just a lot more responsive than the X-T2. Number 3 was the video specs that were rumoured, and yes, we got everything that was rumoured, but unfortunately they didn't surprise us with the 4K 60p, which is a bit of a disappointment. Number 4 was internal F-log, and yep, that's there. That's pretty great. I haven't had a chance to really test that out yet, but at some stage when I'm doing some real video tests, I will have a look at that. Number 5 was a rumor that there would be a 4K photo time-lapse feature, which I was really keen on seeing, but unfortunately that hasn't appeared, which is a shame. Hopefully that's something they may be able to incorporate in firmware later on. Who knows? Let's see. Number 6 was the articulating screen, which, yeah, I knew that was never going to happen. They've obviously just stuck with the design that they've been using on the X-T2 and the GFX, which is not too bad, but you know, it would have been great to have that fully articulating screen. Number 7, I was really hoping that they would incorporate a recording light on the front of the camera. As I don't come from a video background, I didn't realize that you call that a tally light or a talent light. And that's exactly what they've put in, which is fantastic. I'm really glad they put in that tally light on the front. So that's going to be a real benefit to me when I'm out shooting on location and filming myself, doing behind the scenes. So I can just glance over to the camera and just double check that it is recording. So number 8 is a very important feature. It is continuous recording from battery and card, meaning that when you're using the vertical grip, if one battery dies, it doesn't automatically just switch over to another battery and continue recording. The recording actually stops, and that's a real pain in the butt. Unfortunately, I haven't fixed that on the XH1, so we still have to deal with that. I'm going to explore ways of possibly getting around that, but at this stage it's still a real problem. Secondly, the memory card also, when it filled up, the recording would stop. It wouldn't automatically transfer to the second card. Now, apparently they have fixed that. I haven't tested it yet, but they have stated in the specs that if one memory card fills, it will automatically transfer to the second card, which is fantastic. So let's just hope they can fix that battery problem at some stage, either with firmware in the camera or the battery grip itself. Who knows? Number 9 feature was smoother transitions in auto ISO and auto aperture. I haven't had a chance to test that out yet, so I don't really know what it's like. So I'll endeavour to explore that in the coming weeks. And number 10 was better audio levels. And yeah, they really seem to have improved the audio capabilities of this camera tenfold over the X-T2. It's a much better menu system. There's far more control, both on internal microphone and an external microphone, so you can control them separately, which is really, really great. And the quality of the microphone seems to be a lot better as well. So all up, I'm pretty happy with the outcome of those features. Obviously the 4K 60 would have been a real bonus and something that would please a lot of people. So obviously something you can't tell from reading the specs is just what the ergonomics are like and the handling. I've always used vertical grips on my cameras. Coming from Nikon, I had built-in grips in the D series, D3, D4, etc. And even the smaller cameras, I would always put a vertical grip on, because as a still shooter who shoots a lot of people, a lot of portraits, obviously vertical orientation is something that I shoot a lot of. So the grip obviously is going to be great for me in that regard, as well as the video features, extra battery life, headphone out, which I don't use too often, but it's there. So the first thing I noticed when I picked the camera up was the grip was substantially bigger. And I've got reasonably big hands, so the X-T2 without a grip was always a bit small for me and just felt a little bit awkward. This feels much more natural. But even better with the grip from my concern, because the bottom of my hand just does stick down a little bit below the base of the camera and digs in a little bit. especially when you've got a bigger lens on the front. It's still not quite perfect, but putting the grip on certainly helps with that. One of the big complaints has been the removal of the exposure compensation dial. For me, I never used it anyway because I'm always shooting manual, but even if I was going to shoot some of the automatic modes, so I actually find the position of the exposure compensation button just really easy. Even with the camera up to the eye, it's easy to take your finger away from the shutter and press the button in and use the back dial to still adjust your exposure compensation. It's really simple, and it's a location that's pretty common on most cameras, so I was very used to having it in that kind of position on the Nikon cameras. So apart from the bigger grip, the next thing I noticed was the shutter. It is amazing. I love it. I didn't think I would at first because it is super soft to touch, and until you actually press it, you just don't know what it's like. The only thing is that it's so soft, it's so easy to start recording a video when you don't really want to. I'm so used to focusing by half pressing the shutter down. I keep forgetting that there's a back autofocus button on this camera, so I'm still half pressing the shutter button in. I probably should see if I can turn the shutter focus off and force myself to use the back autofocus button. That will get around that problem of accidentally recording or taking shots when I didn't mean to. So that's something to check out. But it is super quiet, this shutter. Yeah, until you experience it, it's hard to describe what the shutter is like. So if you can get yourself into a camera store and just have a play, just check it out. I think you'll be quite amazed at the shutter. So that's my first impressions of this camera. I've only had it a couple of days, as I said, but at this stage I'm really loving it and I can't wait to do more with it. I did a very small art nude shoot in the studio yesterday with it. Just took around about 300 shots, just actually using the lighting that I've got here at the moment, which is the Aperture 120D and the light dome. So I was just testing how it would go in low light autofocus. So I was shooting around 800 ISO and at 2.8, and focus was fantastic. Really much better than the X-T2 in that sort of situation. So keen to explore that a little bit more. I will be heading out on location to do some shooting tomorrow, so I will primarily use this camera for stills, but I will also try and do some video with it as well. So I've got some more sample stuff to show you guys. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please make sure you do. So if you want to see all the videos that I produce with the XH1, make sure you hit the little bell icon so you'll be notified when they're uploaded, along with all the other behind the scenes videos that I'm doing, of course. So please just make sure you check out the videos that I've just uploaded in this playlist. I've only done a few so far, but hopefully that'll give you some insight into how this camera operates. So until I see you in the next video, thanks again for joining me. Until then, ciao for now.